we have been in this war for the last 8 years. We know what it takes to have an agreement with Putin, and that he basically never honors it. So the question would always be, who will take the guarantees, who will be a guarantor for him? Because if no countries, no leaders will guarantee that Putin would not attack again, it will be just a matter of time when he will regroup and try to take more and more of our territories, kill more and more of Ukrainian people.
Kira, you visited our studios recently and now you're back in Ukraine. How are things in your country since you returned?
Situation is complicated because right now we are getting ready for a very hard autumn and winter. We see that there is more and more destructions by Russian rockets that we have to fix, but we honestly do not have resources for. And all people who are temporarily displaced right now need to find a permanent homes and prepare how they will survive through the winter. We are also suffering, as like any other European country, of the energy crisis and the prospects of how we are going to get through the winter with the gas prices that are there right now and with Russia pressuring everyone is also a huge question. On the other hand, at the front, situation is a little bit better because we finally started receiving the weapons that were promised to us a while ago, and you see how effective and efficient our soldiers are with them. So the goal remains the same, to get more and more resources, more and more weapons into Ukraine. Because you see, we are fighting and ready to deliver, and our resolve is the same as on the day one and on the day 165, which is right now. The difference in our successes and in our result is in the amount of resources that we are getting from our allies. So basically, this war is the war of economy, because the armies are fighting and we see how they are fighting. So if we will get more money and if we will get more weapons, we will be able to push Russians back till the time when winter hits.
Kira, you talked there about this sort of, the resolve. What's the mood like? I mean, you're an MP. What's the mood like inside Parliament?
Everybody is working, less maybe on the legislative part, but more on the humanitarian and at the support part for our country. We understand that it may be a long-term situation, and this is why everyone is doing what they can. It's still a question of what I can do to bring us closer to the victory, and I think every member of parliament is asking this question themselves every single morning. Well, at least I and my team, we do.
And you refer there to it being long term. Is there a point, you feel, at which you would start to negotiate with Putin?
It's not a question of a point of negotiation. It's a question of the security guarantees that we may or may not get. We have been in this war for the last 8 years. We know what it takes to have an agreement with Putin, and that he basically never honors it. So the question would always be, who will take the guarantees, who will be a guarantor for him? Because if no countries, no leaders will guarantee that Putin would not attack again, it will be just a matter of time when he will regroup and try to take more and more of our territories, kill more and more of Ukrainian people. They call it salami technique. And this is what has been happening in my country for the last decade.
Kira, you recently visited us in London. Well, you were in London, and now you're back in Ukraine. What's day-to-day life actually like there?
The day-to-day life is close to normal if you ignore the block posts in the cities, and if you ignore air raid sirens, and if you ignore an amount of soldiers on the streets. It's so surreal, because you can be sitting having breakfast at some cafe, and then you hear air raid sirens and everybody's going to the shelter. Or you can be walking around and pretend like things are okay, and then you see an amount like a group of soldiers that were coming back from the front, and you salute to them. So it it is a very hard mix of reality and this psychological attempt to get back to where we were before the war actually began. And every single morning we are waking up to the information of like, how did our army do? What did Russians do? Like, what is the plan? My work right now here inside the country is on the humanitarian front, in fact, to make sure that people are prepared for the winter, because we know that the situations will be very hard. If in Kiev it's closer to normal, in the cities that are severely destroyed, you just live in this destruction and see it every single day, and it's absolutely terrifying.
You talk about the humanitarian efforts and that struggle, Kira. What is there food on the shelves? Are there real shortages for people?
There is food on the shelves. The supplies were renewed, so we are not struggling in this matter. The issue is in the finance, because hryvnia, our currency, right now went very much down comparing to dollar and euro, and the inflation is. I don't think that anybody like calculated it directly, but it is also terrifying. People do not have money to buy this food. So the issues are there. They are all related to war, and the main way that we can help fixing them is just to get more money from the outside. There is no way that we will be able to produce enough or get enough money inside the country to help everyone. So that should be like international support, and this is why I'm working on unfreezing Russian assets in the countries where they were sanctioned and use them to help Ukraine.
A few days ago, I spoke to Professor Scott Lucas on this program about Zaporizhzhia, the Russian-occupied power plant. Can you give us an update on what the situation is there?
It is actually terrifying right now, because we all see that Russians have been in control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant for the last 4 months, since March. And right now they started throwing rockets there and exploding bombs to raise up stakes and to give themselves time to switch the nuclear plant from Ukrainian power grid to Russian power grid. As a person who lived in the country that had Chernobyl, I can tell you literally nobody who have ever had anything to do with Chernobyl would want this tragedy to be repeated. And the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is the largest in Europe, and so it takes one mistake of Russian soldier who would throw the bomb not at the place where it was intended, just to threat the world. And then we will have this tragedy that will affect literally everyone, definitely everyone in the whole Europe, because Chernobyl affected everyone in the whole Europe. So right now we are demanding that international organizations will get their security teams and their scientific teams into the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant to check that what's going on there is still safe and still secure. But of course, Russians are not letting them do it, which again shows how weak the organizations are, and how Russia denies all the international laws and all the international rules, or just basic human rules. So this is the situation of a huge concern for all of us.